Sometimes you really just regret not getting into a series sooner. And for me, well, that happens quite a bit because there are a lot of anime that I just haven't watched. Sorry. But in this case, we're specifically talking about Windbreaker, the series that aired its second season over the spring and that I hadn't actually watched up until recently at the behest of several other content creator friends of mine. I had, however, been privy to the hype surrounding the series, so I went in with some expectations and was not at all disappointed. The lowdown on this series is that Sakura Haruka, a first-year high schooler with a penchant for violence and a pretty screwed-up idea of social interaction, wants to be the top dog in his area. Basically, Sakura comes to town, a lone wolf who's been spurned by society all his life, so that he can take over the toughest high school in the area, only to be swept up in some fights on his first day and becomes a part of Furin itself. Insofar as plot is concerned, that's really all you need to know. There's not a whole lot deeper than that. Sakura starts his journey of learning how to be a part of a team, while Furin works to defend the surrounding area from other, more violent and vicious gangs. And boom, you have yourself a Windbreaker. In terms of plot and structure, it really isn't much more complicated than that. Sakura somehow comes across a brewing feud between a couple of people. He then tries to get involved, which ends up involving a much larger group of people. The good guys then go out of their ways to help out a friend in need, and Sakura, like a typical male tsundere, struggles to be a normal and friendly person when all the dust settles. Rinse and repeat. I think the best way to describe this anime in a brief, few-word summary is Tokyo Revengers, but good. The action is far superior, and the fights carry a level of thrill to them that isn't ubiquitous across all anime, because of the combined effects of choreography, animation, and storytelling. While Windbreaker's plot isn't exactly super centered on some big thing happening in the world, it is very focused on the lives and struggles of its various characters. The way it ties that part in, the far more character-centric storytelling, to its fights is what really makes them stand out to me. It isn't just some beatdown because plot demands it. It's actively involved in the character's progression. Let's take the first major arc of Season 1 out of all the things to talk about. You have this whole arc where Furin is going up against another gang, and in the middle of all of that fighting, you basically have this whole thing about how the top two guys of this rival gang had mismanaged their positions within their hierarchy and had let that ruin the whole thing that had turned their gang from a place to hang out into a group of thugs. Effectively, their decisions led to them ruining the whole dynamic of their group, and they had to reckon with that. And this ties into the core theme of the story, the reasons people have to fight. This central message is what ties the whole story together to make it a great experience, because while Sakura works to figure out why it is that he fights, many others have their own unique reasons, or are on a similar journey, and these often become the centerpieces of the story arcs, which are little more than singular conflicts. It will show you a character, introduce you to someone new, give you some of their preliminary information, and then tie that into the current ongoing battle as a motivation to make you root for the good guys. It's not a complicated formula, but it is genuinely effective. This story's message is largely centered around the idea of finding something righteous to use your strength in service of, with even the latest arc being centered around protecting the things you love to do, and plays off of that element quite well to make moments where you'd actually be invested in what's happening. This is aided by a lot of the characters largely being good people. There are very few truly, purely evil characters in this, and that's a good thing because Furin is largely focused on utilizing the good parts of all of its students in order to help protect people, and Sakura ends up becoming a part of this school and learning that he can use his strength for good and people who will actually appreciate him for getting into fights and dealing with people who are generally problem causers. In that sense, it does make the villains out to be a little bit less than just plain evil. Not in the sense that they're all misunderstood or whatever, but that they make mistakes and are offered a path to redemption in a way to overcome what they've done. All that praise given, this show is not without its flaws. With all the messaging that it does do, that makes its writing compelling, it still kind of fails on a broader world level. Once you realize that there are never any teachers or police around, things kinda start to seem weird. Simultaneously, while the general pattern remains the same in how arcs progress, without a clear goal to progress towards, it can feel as though it meanders a bit in terms of storytelling. This is generally the disadvantage of stories without a clear goal. It can get lost in the progress and development, and seems to not have a reason to be around. And of course, we can't forget that not all arcs are created equal. Inevitably, some will be better than others, and this is no different with Windbreaker. Season 2 starts out with what is effectively my favorite part of the series so far, the Keel arc, but then progresses to an entertainment district sort of thing, centered around Tsubaki, some young Yakuza-looking dudes, and a girl named Shizuka, and this one just didn't hit the same. The villain was far less interesting, the supporting character backgrounds didn't do as well, and it just ended up not being as interesting to me, even though the fight quality in the animation was still the same. The point in all of this is that while it does have some flaws, it is a really good series, and I'm glad that I took the advice of some of my peers to check it out. And if you enjoy this video, I've got more on my channel and many more to come. Like and subscribe, all that jazz. See you later.